So do you know what? I like her. I like this Moderne. I'm an advocate. Welcome to Crimson Guitars, everybody. My name's Josh, and welcome to Guitar Stories. This is a new section that we're trying out. Every guitar has a story. Some of them are really interesting, and we want to go through those stories and explore all the guitars that we love and everything it took to get them from then to now and their lives in between, because I believe that guitars do have their own life. So our first story starts in the mid-50s when 300-pound gorilla designers and manufacturers, Gibson, were starting to feel a little bit insecure because Fender, who had just come along, were releasing guitars that were just smashing it out of the park. Everyone wanted one, they were cheaper, they were cool, and Gibson were feeling insecure inside. So they came up with a plan. They decided to design 3 new guitars that were going to be the most innovative, the most futuristic, the most striking guitars on the market. These 3 guitars were the Gibson Flying V, the Gibson Explorer, which I only have a body blank of, but you know the one, and the Gibson Moderne. And it is the Moderne that we're going to be talking about today. It's not unpopular. So these guitars were sketched up, designed, and taken to NAMM in the late 50s. And everyone agreed at NAMM that the Flying V was frickin' awesome. They also agreed that the Explorer was frickin' awesome. And they all agreed that the Moderne was fugly as sin. I'm not saying it's ugly, but that's what they thought. So that freaked Gibson out, and they decided that by the, I think the early 60s, they put the V and the Explorer out for production, but not the Moderne. But, and the big but, is some people, including Ted McCarthy, the director of Gibson, that production models were in fact made. Some of the people who worked at Gibson said that production models were in fact made. Some people said there was only 1, some people said there were 6. But there was also a musician, he was an engineer at Gibson, Rendell Wall, I think was his name. He claimed that he actually borrowed a guitar from Gibson's morgue, which is where the guitars that were not going out went to die or to be dead. And he borrowed one from there and took it out and did a gig with it. And when he brought it back, they said, "Do you want to buy it?" And he said, "Oh, how much?" And they were like, $50. He went, $50. I would, but it's so ugly that I don't want it. So he didn't buy it, which might have turned out to be the worst decision of his life, considering how much one of these would be worth now. There may well be, somewhere in the world, a Gibson Moderne or 2 floating around, sitting in someone's private collection, but in 60 years, one has never come up. Well, over 60 years, well over 60 years. One's never come up for auction. So it might be that there just aren't any, but there might be. And that is what makes the Moderne so intriguing. It's been given all these names by collectors. What is it? The mythical great white whale. I don't know why. It's not white. Kind of. I suppose it looks like a kind of dead whale floating on the beach. But lost my train of thought. But essentially, it's become a hypothetical collectible. So these hypothetical collectibles, how much would they be worth if one came up for auction? I mean, it's an impossible question to answer, really. What I do know is that one of the production models of the Flying V did come up for auction in 2015. So this was one of the original Flying Vs that was made to test them out, to take to NAMM. Now that went for $611,000. So if a Moderne were to come up today, I don't know, you have a guess. loads. I mean, if Kurt Cobain's guitar can sell for however many $1 million, then do you know what I mean? Who knows? We may never know. But that's the intriguing thing about this story. Now, in the 80s, I think in 1980, in fact, the Modernes were re-released for NAMM for a series that Gibson were running. And then they were subsequently released by Epiphone, made in Korea. So this is what I have right now. What do you think? Do you like it? Do you think it looks like a dead whale? Or do you think it looks like a rock and roll icon that never quite was? Comment. Tell me what you think. I know what I think. So, like it or not, let's talk about what it's made of. It's Korina. Looks to be mostly a two-piece, but sometimes they have little, like, tiny chunks tacked onto the end. It says it's got a Palfero fretboard. It's kind of very thirsty. I think one thing I'm going to have to do is give this one a little drink. We got gold hardware. We got a couple of vintage humbucking pickups. Oh, we've got something slightly interesting with the tone circuits here and the volume circuits. They were actually different to the Vs and the Explorers. So the circuitry is a little bit different. We've got a master tone and master volume instead of volumes for each of your pickups like you do on most Gibsons. So they're kind of different in every way, these little guys. We've got some vintage style tuners in gold as well. And the neck is Gibson-esque. 12-inch radius, that kind of thing. In essence, this is kind of a fascinating guitar, and whether you like it or not, whether you think that it should be floating around in the sea like a dead whale, or whether you think it should be strapped to someone playing it hard on a massive stage, it's an interesting story, and that's what we're all about. So yeah, let's get this baby torn down. Do you know, the more I look at this, the more I kind of like it. I'll tell you one thing, it's definitely comfier to hold than the V or the Explorer. It's got that going for it, you know? You don't have to hold it like that, and it doesn't just go, But it's not exactly a sit-down guitar, is it? So, you know, does that even matter? But I also just remembered a few people of note who played this. Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, Zakk Wylde, Ozzy Osbourne's lead guitarist. It's also worth me saying, whilst they're getting these strings off, that Zakk Wylde actually had a signature model made of this called the Moderne of Doom. Ooh, look at that wonky peg. That is wonky. And another wonky peg. Oh dear. Just going over those frets with a fine and then a super fine fret rubber just to bring them up a little bit. These things are great. Little scrapey as per usual. Clean that board up a little bit. Let's see if it really is Palfero. Now, weirdly enough, this fretboard is actually bound. I didn't notice that because the timbers are so similar in colour, which is why I'm kind of surprised that they bound it at all. Seems a strange thing to do. Hello. It's all right, Ben, you're allowed to be on them. Your company.
Something like that.
These can come off. I never understand why people keep this on. James Hetfield, you played a Moderne. Josh Ramsey plays the Moderne. Kurt Hammett plays the Moderne. That's the whole of Metallica playing the Moderne. I said Zakk Wylde, didn't I? Zakk Wylde plays the Moderne. I've got one string left. I can't think of anyone else who plays it. So I'm just going to have to thread that string without a Moderne player. That really ruined that sequence. Oh. I think I've figured out why I'm starting to quite like this guitar. It's always struck me there's this weird like juxtaposition between music lovers and guitar lovers. They're not the same thing at all. I think you can quite easily be a guitar lover without being a music lover, which is kind of strange to say. But also when you think about it, there's a massive difference between guitar lovers and music lovers in lots of respects. And something I've always found strange about guitar lovers is how deeply conservative we can all be. And music's all about breaking boundaries and like, you know, breaking rules and pushing the envelope. You know, that's what's always turned us on about the music we love. But then so many guitar lovers that I know are just obsessed with the same old guitars and get really worried when things are a bit different, you know. Like, oh, really? You're going to put a maple fretboard on there? Oh my God, you're so crazy. That's so weird. You're going to put those tuners on that year of Fender? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. You're insane. And like, it's like, what? Dude, come on. If you were going to bring to the table the same attitude that you have about music and pushing boundaries and envelopes, surely you'd be like not at all shocked by, you know, mixing and matching some tuners of some guitar that isn't normal to do. Stop being so conservative. My point is, I think what I quite like about this guitar is how weird it is. And, you know, maybe it's fine for a guitar to look like a dead whale. Maybe that's the cool thing about it. Why can't we inject a little bit of that into guitar design? You know, why can't things be a bit weird? Why can't they be a bit off, a bit rubbish, or a bit scrappy, or this, that, and the other? You know, we're creatives, right? Right? Am I right? Maybe I'm not right. Maybe I'm just saying stuff whilst I'm stringing up a guitar. Been on my own too long. Lonely, I'm so lonely. Always adjust your truss rod in the playing position. You will not get the results you want if it's laid on its back. That's the other thing I like about this guitar. It's the underdog. You think about it, this gal has got two beautiful sisters who have been extremely high achievers in the world of instruments. And this lovely lady, everyone looks at her and goes, oh, she's not as pretty as her sisters. Now, I resent that, and I'm going to stick up for her. I like her. I like this Moderne. I'm an advocate. Don't you listen to all those other folk. You're beautiful, baby. What do you know? 1.5. What do you know? 1.25. Quick, stretchy, stretchy. I always get scared doing this. I always think they're going to boing. Yes, I am using an action gauge as a plectrum. What of it? This Moderne's making me feel all punk and rebellious. And I've lost my plectrum. Here she is, boys and girls, the Moderne. I think we can all agree that this is quite a relatable guitar. The less beautiful of its siblings, the less utilised and the less appreciated. But God knows, the world of music, surely, of all places, has space for a character like that in it. And I think there's plenty of room for this. So I've kind of fallen in love with this guitar throughout this video, and I can't wait to play her. She is in the Great Guitar giveaway, so get yourself over there if you want to own this bad boy, bad girl, I should say. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Cheerio.